All right, today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.
Welcome to Saturday Podcast, everyone. Please remember to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Okay, so first thing I want to say is today I have a article from Prospect magazine that has a little bit more detail about Harry's case. I think there has been quite a bit of misunderstanding, and I think even I perhaps had a little bit of misunderstanding about certain things, and I like to keep it accurate here. So I'm going to read that because it was actually a very good article. So yeah, we'll get into that in a sec. But let's say our hellos. I think I saw a comment from, who was it from now? Okay, no, never mind. Hey everyone, thank you to the mod squad. The trolls have been coming in here. It's like, have you ever been on a road trip and then like you've been driving for 3 hours and then you stop and then you notice just how many insects are on the windshield? Like that's how it's been like this week. Haven't seen this many trolls in a while. But the trolls are welcome here. You're welcome to come and listen to the truth and the facts and not the nonsense from the trolls and the tabloids. Trolls are welcome. Come listen to the truth. Okay, let's get into it. Where are we starting? Oh, we're starting with a reminder that With Love Meghan is on March 4th on Netflix, and Netflix will not be providing any advanced screenings for journalists for Meghan's show. Good. You're getting nothing. No leaks, no nothing. We saw, I think at best, one pap shot of Meghan out filming something in an Adidas tracksuit. We haven't gotten anything else, and I love it. I love that we get nothing other than when Harry and Meghan want us to know things and see things. I love it for them, but I love it, of course, more than anything, because the UK tabloids don't have anything. And that's what they deserve. Nothing. No access, no previews, no nothing. Also, over in China, Harry is in the press. China Daily reporting on the win. A lot of international news organizations have been reporting on this win and reporting on it positively and accurately. China Daily saying Britain's Prince Harry claimed what has been called a monumental victory this week against publishing mogul Rupert Murdoch's tabloid newspapers in the United Kingdom after News Group newspapers, or NGN, paid out substantial damages shortly before a high-profile court case that's probably stopped. Also, Andy Cohen, who spoke on Meghan's Archetypes podcast, congratulated Harry on his win. Also, Maria Shiva, I believe that's Arnold Schwarzenegger's former wife, and also Dolly Parton, Many others coming out and congratulating Harry, and I think seeing the significance of this win. There are many people, celebrities and ordinary people, who have been victims of press. And even for celebrities that have money and status, even for them, Rupert Murdoch is too big a beast to take on. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have a lot of respect behind the scenes for Harry. And it's truly a tale of two princes. One who took the principled stand and fought for himself, his family, his mother, and his country. The other took a private jet and buggered off to watch football in Monaco. And that's no joke, by the way. William Parker Bowles went to it was like one of these meetings where he's, taking pictures with the homeless. I think he went to Centre Point, which is a homelessness charity here in the UK, and then buggered off on a private jet to Monaco. I mean, it's just so polarizing. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, praising Harry in his court victory. I do feel that perhaps the Spencer family wishes they had done more around the time that Diana was, under attack from the palace and the press. Obviously, there's a degree to which they probably had their hands tied and it was a very difficult situation. But I can imagine there's probably some regrets there. And perhaps, supporting Harry, showing up for him the way that they have, that's some way of making up for that. But not to judge, because the world in which these people live in is chaos and mayhem that most of us normal folk will just never live. Thank goodness, because who would want this? One big giant ridiculous soap opera. It's actually really hit me today. Really, really hit me today, because I feel like there was this flurry of news and this was kind of unexpected, but it's really hit me today that all along the smear campaign, the hate campaign against Meghan, or a huge part of it anyway, was simply because Rupert Murdoch and the palace didn't want the truth about them to come out. Because that's what's really at the center of this. At the 11th hour, they realized we can't win this. So they threw in the towel. Because they don't, or whatever is still hidden in those court files could still come out, by the way. But in this instance, they didn't want it to come out. And that's why David Sherborne and his other lawyer baddies were walking into court with a smile on their faces. They knew. William, by the way, of course, as we know, along with solving climate change with Earthworm and bringing peace to the Middle East, also wants to end homelessness. This was in the Camden New Journal this week. Is this 2025? A man dies after freezing, night sleeping in a bin. This should not be happening in the UK in 2025. I learned recently that there are hubs that are open for the homeless where the homeless can sleep. These are usually like churches or just like empty buildings that they clear out. But there are actually limited spaces and spots even in those places. And you are, I think you're put on a waiting list and then they text you to go to one of these places. You may even have to move around from one place to the other depending on where there's a spot. And then you may be given free access to a locker to put your things. So there aren't even enough sleeping bags on the floor for rough sleepers. It's just unthinkable in a country as wealthy as the UK. I would have a smidgen of respect for William if he had the balls enough to perhaps address government on this and work with organizations in a way that produced just more impactful results. Instead, he talks about ending homelessness, but he's a slumlord landlord himself. The royal purse is taking more money from the taxpayer, despite the fact that they're now doing less work. He's building a limited number of homes nearer to the coast, and that the money that's being used to build those homes, I don't know if that is profits from the duchy. I don't actually know where that money is coming from, but it's not going to solve this wider problem. And then he's showing up to Centre Point, giving a smile and wave here and there, as we know that William likes to do, and then pissing off to Monaco on a private jet to watch a football match. The way these people play in the faces of the British public is just wow. But we allow it. Some people, of course, let their feelings be known through facial expressions. This came up on my feed and I couldn't resist, y'all. I could not resist. I believe the one in the corner where Willie's wearing a green top and the guy's in the black puffer jacket. That is recent. I believe that's from this week. But all of the others is a collage of people just people's inner thoughts coming out on their faces. Like, what the F? What is going on here? I mean, even the children know. Look at my young man down there at the bottom, giving deuces to our Miss Catherine. And the other fella just looking at her, the other young fella looking at her just like, oh my goodness. Mom, please come and pick me up. I don't want to be here. And it's just so funny because it's like, if this was a one-off, you'd have one or two pictures. Instead, I can make a whole collage. I mean, these are just a few pictures, by the way. I think some time back, I had a whole collage of Kate with children crying and wanting to run away and just looking glum and sad. Complete contrast to when Harry and Meghan are around people. Smiles and hugs and joy. Christ. Thank you to whoever posted this on Twitter. It made me laugh. Okay, I'll go to your comments and then I will read this brilliant article from Prospect. Okay, let's see. Wanda, you said, we have a program in Maryland where churches take in the homeless during the winter because we don't have enough shelters here. Late says capitalism. This exactly. Where you can have one family with 20 castles, one of which we spent 12 million renovating because that's where they were meant to live. And now, because allegedly, for the lawyers listening, they're separated, they ended up going somewhere else. Pamela, did Willie fly off to Monaco after Harry reached his agreement? Monaco is a money shelter for the super rich. Wonder if Charles or Willie Boy is going to reimburse Murdoch settlement fees. Ooh, interesting theory, Pamela. I need to actually double check because that football match, I don't know who was playing. So if he's ahead of the FA, so if England were playing, I guess there would have been a reason for him to be there. But if they weren't playing, then it just looks like he was being a douche running off to Monaco and wanting to take a private jet flight and hang out with rich people. I need to double check. But still, even if England was playing, he can miss a football match. He did when it was the women's team. Good evening, Joe. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Frederick, does anyone know if Al Fayed was close to the Qatar family who purchased Harrods? No idea. Does anyone in the comments know? If you know, tell Frederick, please. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I love the BAFTA actresses. Apparently, he was saying that he enjoyed the movie or something. Not that he enjoyed the movie. He made a comment. He made a comment that was out of sync with what the movie was about. So I think the movie that they were talking about in this situation was something about sexual assault or abuse. And he kind of like cracked a comment that was like, why are you making this comment about a movie that's about sexual abuse? And that's why they were all kind of looking at him like, what? Because I don't think he actually watched it. He just showed up to take pictures with actors and actresses. Okay, going through your comments. So let's have a read of this article. Do you know what? Yesterday I was quite negative about the fact that the Met Police has asked for the files in this case, and they're now looking at a police investigation. And obviously, I don't trust the police on this, but it seems like there is a push for a police investigation by Harry's lawyers, by others in the media, those who are affiliated with Hacked Off, like Hugh Grant. So we'll see. Okay, so this is in Prospect, the Weekly Constitutional. How Harry and Watson forced newsgroup newspapers to admit wrongdoing. Why the circumstances show it was NGN wanting to avoid a public trial and not the cost risk on the claimants that brought this case to its end. Now that's really important there. Why the circumstances show it was NGN wanting to avoid a public trial and not the cost risk on the claimants that brought this case to its end. So, this week, the formal text is the apology provided by newsgroup newspapers to Prince Harry and Labour peer Tom Watson. This apology marked the sudden end of the case brought by the Prince, Watson, and many other claimants against the publisher on the eve of a trial which was about to commence at the High Court in London. And the key power relationship is that of a major media entity seeking to minimize and eliminate the risk of legal liability for alleged wrongdoings, and how it took a member of the royal family and a member of the House of Lords, despite many obstacles, to force that publisher to admit wrongdoing. When the news came that the case had come to an abrupt, dramatic end, some commentators took the view that the claimants had been defeated by the cost risk. In the end, even he could not defy the financial risks, wrote one major pundit. Even princes have to settle was the title of another leading analysis piece. This was perhaps a reasonable position to take. After all, scores of the other claims against NGN had settled for financial reasons, including the cost of proceeding. NGN was systematically buying the claims off using a combination of its financial might by imposing immense financial risks, where claimants would likely be disadvantaged if they continued. The actor Hugh Grant, for example, had to involuntarily settle his claim on such a basis. It was therefore a quick and easy assumption to make that Harry and Watson also had to follow suit. But on this occasion, there were problems with this assumption. There was no direct evidence to support it. The theory did not make sense in terms of timing, and there was perhaps a better explanation for why the case had ended in the curious manner it did, a possible explanation that has been missed by most other commentary. Neither the apology, a document agreed between the parties, nor the statement by the Prince's lawyer, David Sherborne, and Watson outside the court expressly supported the notion that cost risk had been a reason for how this case has been settled. The crucial paragraphs are the first two. They are an open an unqualified admission of illegal conduct by NGN. And the financial predicament for the two claimants was pretty much the same last week or last month. There is no particular reason why the risk would especially bite the claimant on the eve of the trial. Indeed, at the start of the case, claimants are in the stronger position as it's their side of the case which is presented first. So, what actually happened? The main clue is maybe in the apology, which is set out below with paragraph numbers added in brackets for convenience. So, first part, NGN offers, this is NGN's apology we're analyzing here. Sorry, folks, let me just post something in the chat before I continue. Everybody following? We're going to do it slowly, folks. We're going to do it slowly. NGN offers a full and unequivocal apology to the Duke of Sussex for the serious intrusion by the Sun between 1996 and 2011 into his private life, including incidents of unlawful activities carried out by private investigators working for the Sun. NGN offers a full and unequivocal apology to the Duke. Okay, I'm not gonna actually read the whole thing because I read it before. But basically, it goes through the whole apology. Now, this is the analysis by Prospect. This apology was an agreed document between the parties, and no doubt it was also a negotiated document. It also shows signs of having been finalized in haste. Paragraph 8, for example, seems to apologize to Watson for him not being given confidential information, rather than apologizing for the publication of an allegation that he had received such confidential information. But the crucial paragraphs are the first two. They are an open and admission of illegal conduct by NGN. These contrast these paragraphs with paragraph 5, where the publisher is careful to say that what is mentioned in that paragraph is without any admission of legality. Now, we touched on this when Lightside was on, and we said at the time that was rather interesting. But this qualification in paragraph 5 is limited to what is mentioned in that paragraph, not the unlawful behavior listed in paragraphs 1 and 2. So let's go back actually and read paragraph 5. So it says, it is also acknowledged without any admission of illegality that NGN's response to the 2006 arrests and subsequent actions were regrettable. And as Prospect have pointed out, this qualification in paragraph 5 is limited to what is mentioned in that paragraph. So that's what I think me and Lightside touched on when Lightside came on, that it's like they're covering themselves. So some have noted the words working for in paragraph 1 and have wondered if this is an attempt at distancing the publisher from the unlawful act. Of course it is. It was the investigators' fault, but the investigators are the investigators that you hired. This distinction, however, is legally unimportant. The publisher would have liability whether the unlawful acts were carried out by its own employees or by contractors on its behalf. As the judge managing the cases said in a related case, the fact that the voicemail interception itself may have been done by a private investigator rather than a journalist adds nothing to the essentials of the pleaded phone hacking claim, which is that it was done by persons acting on behalf of NGN. The identity of the individual who did the hacking and whether they were an employee or third person acting on instructions are non-essential facts. Okay, this is interesting because remember what I said yesterday about Piers Morgan, that I don't actually believe that Piers Morgan ever physically hacked a phone, i.e. put his fingers on buttons and tampered with people's voicemails, but he may have allegedly for the lawyers listening, instructed other people to do so and encouraged an environment where doing so was okay in order to get stories. So if we're going by what I've just read now, could he still be liable? for what was going on with the phone hacking, because he was editor of the News of the World when this was going on, and he has bragged numerous times about how hacking was done. Something to think about, and maybe why Piers Morgan is still having rants and heart palpitations, because I think that if Morgan didn't think that he could still end up back in court and charged with something, I don't think he'd still be going on the way he is. But we'll see. I'm just theorizing here. Anyway, and I also still believe that there are other things about him and his involvement in all of this mess that we still don't know about. Let's not forget about those letters, those Diana letters that he had. I think, where is it now? Here. Theft of Princess Diana's letters. Okay, so back to the Prospect article. The same point holds for other unlawful activities such as surveillance and misuse of private information rather than phone hacking. Whether the unlawful activity was done by a director or by an employee or by a contractor acting on instructions, it was still the legal responsibility of the publisher. The distinction, in the words of the judge, was non-essential. It did not matter who did it. The liability for NGN would be the same. Now, why would NGN volunteer these admissions? This was the first puzzling aspect of the statement. The other was the eve of trial timing. When NGN settled its claims against Grant in respect of his similar claim for wrongs other than phone hacking, it said, a judge recently ruled that parts of Mr. Grant's claim were out of time and we have reached agreement to settle the remainder of the case. This has been done without admission of liability. Why did the publisher not just say the same thing this time? Good question. What was different? What made NGN admit to unlawful activity this time when it had avoided doing so on each and every previous occasion? The best explanation is perhaps not that the Prince and Watson had finally buckled to cost risk. It instead looks like a desperate last-minute move by a publisher anxious to avoid a public trial of their claims. This is exactly what Harry said. The scale of the cover-up. This is what he said at that New York book summit. It appears from the evidence available that NGN signaled that it would actually accept liability. If so, this would change everything. If NGN accepted it was liable for at least the main part of the claims, there would be no need for a full trial. There would be nothing to be tried. The Prince and the politician would not now be able to force a full trial, even if they had wanted to, and Harry wanted to. So now that we have an idea that perhaps the money wasn't an issue, because a lot of people were saying, oh, Harry wouldn't want to bankrupt himself. Well, he doesn't seem like Harry was scared about bankrupting himself. He wanted the trial. He said that from the beginning. For a defendant to admit liability is an unusual, if not unique, litigation ploy. Normally, a litigation strategy is for a party to avoid liability, but here it seems NGN's litigation strategy seems subject to a higher media political objective of not having a public hearing with documents put in evidence and thereby the public domain and witness evidence being put forward and challenged. It looks like, oh, sorry. I was rereading a part there. The Prince and Watson withstood a sequence of highly powerful challenges in the pre-trial stages of the case. They had survived a strikeout of the case on what lawyers call limitation, that the claim had been brought too late, though that strikeout application got rid of the phone hacking allegation, and they had been forced to reformulate their particulars of claim. NGN tried and failed to get the outstanding claims dealt with as preliminary issues. Most of all, NGN had relied on a ferocious cost man trap where it would be impossible for the surviving claimants not to lose financially even if they won the trial. By using the Part 36 procedure, NGN appears to have offered an amount of compromise as an amount in compromise which the claimants could not possibly have been beaten at trial, which would mean regardless of the outcome, the claimants would pay costs to the publisher. If you won, you still lost. This is the reason why Grant and others had to settle before the trial. But none of these tactics worked on the Prince and Watson. The surviving two claimants still pressed on to a public trial. They still pressed for a public trial. For all it's worth, NGN still had a good arguable defense on limitation, but that would have to be dealt with at trial. And if that were to occur, it would be far too late to avoid the hearing. And so, on the eve of the hearing, it seems NGN decided to do what it had always avoided doing so in this litigation to date, the only thing it had left. NGN seemed to have informed the claimants that they would now accept liability. Y'all, a huge part of this vicious campaign to destroy Meghan is because they were avoiding this. That shouldn't be forgotten in all of this. By indicating that they would admit liability, a full trial would be avoided. Evidence would not go into the public domain. Witnesses would not be examined and cross-examined. To adapt the old adage, it became necessary to destroy the case so as to protect something perhaps far more important. To adapt the old adage, it became necessary to destroy the case as to protect something perhaps far more important. What is that something? What was in those emails between the palace and the press? Harry, write book 2. Book 2 is needed immediately. The litigation strategy, which had been so successful so far, had ultimately failed, and now something drastic was needed. The explanation for the sudden halt in turn covers all the surrounding facts. The settlement was not obviously done on the basis of Part 36, but as the court heard, a so-called Tomlin order. There was no application for a statement to be read in open court, which is only possible within the Part 36 process, and there was no curt no liability is accepted statement like when the Grant case ended. The theory also explains the timing of the surrender, that it was the eve of trial made no real difference to the position of the claimants, but it made a huge difference to the defendant. Once a trial begins, all sorts of documents and evidence can appear in the public domain. The timing pressure was on the publisher and not the prince and the politician. But most of all, the theory above explains why NGN volunteered those admissions in the first 2 paragraphs of apology. There is no other obvious or feasible explanation for these admissions other than NGN was now prepared to admit liability and so render any full trial redundant. Of course, the claimants could have insisted on every outstanding issue being litigated, but NGN accepting liability of the substantive claim meant any outstanding issues became almost academic. It would still be NGN that was liable for the unlawful activity that had occurred, whoever was shown to have done it and directed it. A party that admits liability on the first day of what would otherwise be a lengthy trial is usually hammered badly on costs and so-called indemnity bases. And this consequence also accords with what is reported to have happened. NGN has accepted that bringing the case to an end on this basis means that they should and will pay pretty much all the claimants' costs in the case. They going broke. Redundancies are coming. They had no other realistic choice if they wanted to avoid a public trial. The evidence of the text of the apology and the circumstances of how this case came to an end, therefore, do not point to Prince Harry and Tom Watson being finally defeated by any cost risk. I am so glad to thank you, whoever wrote this Prospect article. Instead, it points to the case ending because NGN accepted liability. Accordingly, it seems that it was not the financial might of NGN that defeated the claimants, but the readiness of the defendant to admit to unlawful activity rather than suffer a full trial. The man trap set against the Prince and Watson failed, and NGN was caught in another litigation trap instead. Wow. That was really great to read, because I feel like now I have a better understanding of things. I hope you all have a better understanding of things. If you didn't already, maybe you did. Oh, Frederick, Aston Villa were playing. Okay. So not the national team then. Thank you for letting me know. William went on his private jet after a homeless event to Monaco to watch Aston Villa. I don't think he just went out there for football. Heather, you said if anyone ever thought Harry was more than a spare, they know now. Mm-hmm. Shout out also to the prayer warriors. You've also helped this case. Leslie, you said, yes, Piers Morgan could be liable because ignorance is not an exception to the law. So by turning a blind eye, he is still responsible as he was the head of the paper. Exactly. Exactly. Let's put a pretty picture on the screen, not these ugly, fugly faces like Piers Morgan. Pretty Meghan and Harry instead. Yeah, avid reader. Piers is also really stupid. He's still running his mouth against his better interest. Listen, Piers has never truly been put in his place. And he is someone who thinks that he is above it all, untouchable. And to be honest, up until this point, he has been. But when the time is right, his time will come. Nobody ever thought Weinstein would be pulled down. Nobody ever thought Max Clifford, the UK's version of Weinstein, would get pulled down. Man died in jail. Biggest PR person in the country. Can make your career. Knew all the secrets of the rich and famous in the UK. Nobody ever thought he would come down. So I don't think Piers Morgan is that much more special. I still see either jail or bankruptcy in the cards for Piers Morgan. Hopefully both. Little Mac, the answer is Harry. They knew he had the evidence. That smile on his face at the book summon was a master tell. NGN destroyed their emails. But what about the emails were sent to, and yeah, other emails? There's other emails. They deleted 30 million emails, but there's other emails. Yeah. Should have hit that delete button a little bit more. 30 million times wasn't enough. Little Mac, I think they will offer up Rebecca Brooks and Piers Morgan to make these cases go away. I'm sure their emails show that the royal family are involved. Yes. I think that the higher ups, the Murdoch, Will Lewis, they're gonna offer someone up. And the most visible person, because he never shuts up, is Piers Morgan. Second most visible person, because her face was so memorable from the phone hacking trial, was Rebecca Brooks. And she's still head of News Group right now. Perfect for guy and for woman. I mean, listen, Murdoch's about to kick the bucket anyway. The world's supply of unicorn blood is running thin. There's only so much longer he can stay alive. So it's not really that Murdoch's going to face any real consequences. He's about to be gone. But the Murdoch organization needs to be held to account and shut down. And since the law still has not, the law doesn't have any provisions to deal with the way that the press is so corrupt, the best way to bring them down is just to bankrupt them. Let's see. Leslie, it has to be those emails from the palace going all the way back to protect the royal family. That, and I think some other things. That and some other things. Avid reader, Helen, I suspect that it's evidence that links them directly to Diana and her fate, allegedly. That could also be it as well. Yes, Leslie, that was a very well written article. I'm glad they wrote it so that I could read it for you all. Antoinette, you said, Anne, Harry and his legal team, plus the courts, have the facts and all the information. There's no NDA in place, so will the Met Police or Leveson 2 take place now? I'm asking for a friend. That is a good question. I can't give you an answer. Only time can give us an answer to that question. But also, I almost forgot, actually. There was something in an article from The Sun. No, not The Sun. Sorry, gosh, what am I saying? From Sky News. Sky News has now been told that if new investigations aren't launched by the police, then individuals may bring private criminal prosecutions. Emma Jones from the campaign group Hacked Off, which says it works with victims of press abuse, said, it would be a shame, I think, if it did have to be private prosecution. This surely is a matter for government and the police. If unlawful behavior took place and the people did that, lied under oath, not just to the public, but at the Leveson inquiry and in the court case, what does that mean? The very worst that means is that it is perjury, a criminal offense. We'd like the police to thoroughly investigate this. There you go. And obviously, you have former Lib Dem Cabinet Minister Chris Hugh, who also reached a settlement with NGN in 2023 after he claimed his phone was hacked, has already written to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner. I have written to Mark Rowley because I think he's genuinely trying to clean up the Met, and part of that cleaning up has to be the relationship between the Met and the tabloids, stressing that he believes it is a necessity for a new investigation. He added, are they going to mess up a third time? The Metropolitan Police has behaved appallingly. I would much prefer to see another police force deal with it because, frankly, the Metropolitan Police have not covered themselves in glory in this whole thing. Campaigners are also calling for investigations to be launched by the Information Commissioner's Office into the misuse of private information, the Press Standards Organisation, and calling on Parliament to look into whether journalists and executive lied under oath at the Leveson inquiry or lied to the parliamentary select committees. I wish them luck. DB, they said, so they are throwing its vendors, aka the investigators, under the bus. Seems like the investigators should band together and sing like canaries and break NDAs. Yeah, band together, sing like canaries, break NDAs, and ask for a what do they call it? A plea deal? I don't know what the UK version of it is. You know, like when you offer up information and they give you less time. That's what they should do. You said, Hemawa, you said Piers Morgan's nonsense rants defending the royal family against Harry is actually a hidden message to them that he has the goods against them. This is the only explanation for him crying more than the bereaved. Exactly. There's that journalist who he deleted the tweet, but it's still, the internet is forever, and it was screenshot. He said, I can't wait for the day that the papers can start talking about Prince William. And goodness knows what they would have to say. It's Pete Talks. I hope Prince Harry takes Piers Morgan to court too. It might be somebody else to take Piers Morgan to court. Sandra, don't forget, Anne, that the Murdoch family are arguing with each other too. Yes, that is true. I mean, they went to court to argue over who would, get slice and control of the empire. All right. Maria, I've been watching your wonderful channel since you hit over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. And have watched the count grow daily. Why has your subscriber count been stuck at 39,000 for a while? Well, I stopped. Obviously, like, being demonetized was a huge part of that, because YouTube basically stopped pushing my videos as much. But also, one of the reasons why my channel grew so fast, and that I had moments of really, really, really fast growth, was because I would often post stories, or shorts, I think they're called here on YouTube. I would post shorts. Shorts was actually my biggest conversion for subscribers and how people would find me. Now, the reason I stopped posting shorts was because what I would often do was I would just like repost little clips from here and there. But this was the problem when I got demonetized. I believe it was one of those shorts that got me demonetized, because it's not that you can't repost clips or other people's content, but you have to add some kind of context or commentary to it. So basically, it was when I stopped posting shorts. Maybe I could start doing shorts again, when little clips pop up, like TikTok style videos. But it's just now I don't really have the time for it. So that's why. Shorts were one of the main ways that people actually discovered my channel. Also, I think sometimes like channels just have moments where, the subscriber count, it's kind of like hit its peak for that time. It definitely helps if you all start, share the video, share the channel. That helps. And also, I did, after I decided to start writing my book, and I was writing my book, I didn't upload as often. So the uploading regularly also helps with your subscribe count. So there was like a mixture of things. But it's not anything that I'm, worried about. I'm grateful to whoever shows up here. If there was still only 1,000 people, I would still be doing this podcast. So it's okay. Don't feel bad for me. I'm grateful to all of you that are here. Black Queen, you said the Met is not going to change. Y'all complicit. Yeah. You need some kind of outside body to look at all of these organizations and have some kind of independent trial. Otherwise, you just have a revolving door of people who all have dirt on themselves and don't want that dirt to come out. Yes, Piers Morgan whining and bullying of a woman who has ignored him for almost 8 years has totally diminished his reputation. He is a hurt, rejected person, indeed. I hope Meghan never acknowledges him. She should never acknowledge him. I hope it eats away at his soul. Little Mac, who said Harry's lawyer mentioned Rebecca Brooks by name, and Piers is the only one screaming about the case. So my money is on them being the fall guys. Also, women are always seen as like, yeah. I think that I even saw there's a really big account. I forget its name, but they tweeted, should Rebecca Brooks and Piers Morgan go to jail? And that was retweeted hundreds of thousands of times. Like, they are the two main faces of this whole thing. I mean, there are others, of course, but they're the two main faces. Thank you so much, Maria. I don't necessarily think there's a conspiracy. It's just that the YouTube algorithm works in a certain way. You have to play to the algorithm, and unfortunately, a huge part of the way the algorithm works is by spreading hate. Hate travels further than hate and misinformation travels further than love and facts. So I would rather be a smaller channel that focuses on love and facts than be a hater channel spreading all that hate. And with that, let me say again that I'm grateful to you all. Wishing you a fabulous rest of your weekend. I am out working tomorrow. I'm actually working on a Sunday, so I don't think I will do a podcast tomorrow. Oh, thank you for Black Queen for the coffee. Always here to support the Sussexes. Also, thank you to Rebecca Arthur for the 5 coffees. Much appreciated, both of you. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, folks. See you likely on Monday. Ciao.